I don't judge a man by the length of his hair or the kind of music he listens to. Rock was never my bag. But you put on a pair of shoes when you walk into the New York Public Library, fella.
These are the best books I read last year.
Hear it, Big Bang. That cannon of yours is against regulations. In this department, we go by the book.
By book.
Alright, kicking off my list is The Rum Diary by Hunter Thompson. First off, Hunter Thompson, favorite author of all time, love everything he puts out, so maybe this makes me a little biased, but I like this story. It was just a pretty quick read about a down-on-his-luck journalist called Paul Kemp and his navigation through the underworld of Puerto Rico, the wannabe journalists, and women, booze, all the things you would expect out of Hunter Thompson.
What's that? Oh, that's mine! Hey!
This is the one
That's it, yeah!
Mondo
Freaks.
Mondo Freaks. Leaf through it. Huh? Are you loving that?
Well, thank you, Larry. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Alright, number 4 on this list is King Lear by Shakespeare. Yeah, it's an old one. It's a little confusing, but at its core, it's a story about family, friends, enemies, and deceit, misdirection, and trust. Alright, number 3 is Creative Confidence by Tom and David Kelly. I love this book because I've always thought of myself growing up as someone super creative and maybe having a special spark for creative work. Early on, this book made it clear that everyone has the opportunity to be creative. It's not something that some people have and other people don't. But what this really makes it stand out is it gives you tools and a bunch of insights and anecdotes from business community or nonprofits about how to unleash your creative spark.
Metaphors? I hate metaphors. That's why my favorite book is Moby Dick. No frou-frou symbolism, just a good simple tale about a man who hates an animal. That's enough for today, I think.
Alright, number 2, John Steinbeck, East of Eden. This is where making this list got really tough for me because I absolutely love this thing. All of the details in there. I don't think I've ever put this many post-it notes to flip back through a book before. At its core, it's a story and a study into people and what motivates them, whether it be positive or negative. It's very biblical, but incredibly deep and rich in its lessons. You can think about it this way. John Steinbeck, if he had a chart-topping single, that would be Of Mice and Men. It's a great book. It's a quick read, but it's pretty succinct. East of Eden is like his magnum opus album that's 4 sides, and it's really where he dives into, I think, some of his best writing and hands down his best character work.
See, the sad thing about a guy like you is in 50 years, you're going to start doing some thinking on your own, and you're going to come up with the fact that there are 2 certainties in life. 1, don't do that. And 2, you dropped 150 grand on a fucking education you could have got for $1.50 in late charges at the public library.
Alright, number 1, the best book that I read in 2019, Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. You know, it's a biography in the story of Apple, Next, all the companies that Steve Jobs piloted. But it's actually a mystery. It's a mystery about all of these crazy accomplishments that really are impossible to imagine that one person did all these things in one short lifetime. And it's a study into the motivations, like we talked about in East of Eden, of the real person and the real psyche that Steve Jobs was, and how he accomplished what he did and changed the world as we live it today. I think it's really cool. The author Walter Isaacson did a great job of interviewing Steve Jobs, and not just his friends, Steve Jobs himself, but a lot of the enemies he made along the way while he was building Apple and all of these companies, including the personal enemies. I think it's a really interesting study. It's, on one hand, an inspiring note about how you can change the world, and then on the other hand, it's a cautionary tale.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.
Alright, and these were my favorite books of 2019 that I read. I hope you enjoyed this. This was my first stab at reviewing books on my YouTube. It's something I've talked about doing for a few months, but today was the day that I just took a stab at it. My goal for the future is to do a book of the month, my favorite book from every month that I read. I had a total blast in 2019 reading. I finished 43 books, and my goal for 2020 is to get to 57. So it's gonna be a journey, it's gonna be a lot of reading, and I hope to include you along the ride. And that's a wrap.